food. It's vital for good health and needed every day.
In my job as a grocery store clerk, I'm working around it all the time.
And everyone needs to eat nutritious foods right from the start. The first 5 years of life are so important in guiding children to a healthful life.
As you probably already know, the months during pregnancy are even more important.
That's why WIC was created, to provide specific nutritious foods and helpful nutrition education and breastfeeding support and referrals for infants and children up to the age of 5 and pregnant and breastfeeding women.
The foods provided by the WIC program contain important nutrients that help WIC participants grow strong and healthy. But the WIC program is not designed to provide all of the food a WIC mother or child may need.
The healthy foods offered in the WIC program reflect and support the dietary guidelines for Americans and include fruits and vegetables, whole grain foods like whole grain bread, whole wheat tortillas, corn tortillas, brown rice and oats, breakfast cereals that are iron fortified and low in sugar, milk, and most WIC participants receive low-fat skim or 1% milk.
Soy beverages and tofu, infant foods including fruits, vegetables, meats, and cereal, 100% juice containing 120% vitamin C. This includes vegetable juice, tomato juice, and single-flavor fruit juice, dry and canned beans, peanut butter,
eggs, cheese, and canned fish.
Now, to be included on the WIC allowed food list, brands and varieties of WIC foods are carefully reviewed and must meet the WIC nutritional criteria. The types and amounts of food WIC customers receive will vary. For example, you might be surprised to learn that in Minnesota, over 80% of mothers breastfeed their babies. The WIC program provides extra food to breastfeeding moms and their babies, recognizing that breastfeeding is the healthiest way to feed infants.
And breastfeeding is good for moms, too. It's important to emphasize that the WIC program is a nutrition program, not a welfare program. The families who qualify for WIC services have low to average incomes and must meet certain other eligibility requirements.
So, how does a person apply for WIC services?
Eligibility for the program is determined at a WIC clinic and includes an assessment of nutrition status and income. WIC participants meet with a nutrition educator to learn about healthy food choices. They're really helpful, and they even tell us about other resources.
Once a person is enrolled in the WIC program, she receives vouchers to purchase the specific foods provided by the WIC program. Each voucher can be redeemed like a check to buy the specific amounts and types of nutritious foods listed on the voucher.
So, who typically participates in the WIC program?
Working families, unemployed individuals, single parents, students, and others who meet the WIC guidelines.
In other words, just about all kinds of people.
Exactly. And of course, as cashiers, we're expected to treat them all with the same respect we give every customer.
Some customers, including WIC participants, may need a little more assistance and patience from you.
The WIC program can be confusing at times for both WIC customers and store cashiers. Working together, most problems can be easily resolved.
Which brings us to our next topic. We WIC moms want to feel comfortable shopping in your store. This just goes back to the golden rule. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
Which means treat WIC customers with the same respect you give to every customer.
After all, WIC vouchers can be redeemed in many stores in your area. And I could take my WIC shopping and my regular shopping somewhere else.
There's no reason for a cashier to have an attitude or to embarrass a WIC customer.
This juice is not WIC allowed. You'll have to put it back.
Getting the wrong product is pretty common, especially until WIC customers become familiar with the foods.
So how do you deal with a customer when they've chosen the wrong item?
Well, I think of myself as a kind of teacher.
As opposed to a cop?
Right. Instead of arresting my customers when they make a mistake, I try to help them understand the WIC foods.
The way I see it, I'd feel better if you tell me what I can do, not what I can't do.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can see this bread is a different size than what's listed on your voucher, so it's not allowed. Let's see if we can help you find a 16-ounce size loaf. Okay. And these fruit rings are not a WIC allowed cereal either. Everything that is WIC allowed will be listed in the WIC shopping guide. And in our store, you'll see a WIC label on the shelf too. What cereal would you like to buy to replace it?
By politely bringing these mistakes to the attention of the WIC customer, it can make the WIC customer feel at ease, and you can prevent the same problem from happening in the future.
There's one other advantage to helping the WIC participants make the right choices.
And what's that?
You can honestly feel good about the fact that you're helping that mom and her children get the most nutritious foods to grow up healthy.
You know, I never thought about it like that, but I'm actually working to improve the health of my WIC customers.
Speaking of work, let's take a look at how the WIC transaction is supposed to work.
Oh, before we start, it is important to point out that there are two types of WIC vouchers that you'll see at the checkout line. One is a standard voucher, and the other is a voucher for fruits and vegetables only. We'll point out the differences as we go along. Here we are at my second home, the register.
And here comes a WIC customer. What timing?
Now, what's the first thing the cashier is going to look for?
I know that one. After verifying that the customer has his or her WIC ID folder, check for the correct dates. The voucher must be used between the first day and the last day on the voucher, but never accept a voucher if the dates have been altered. This voucher can be used any day between October 3rd and November 2nd. That includes October 3rd and November 2nd.
Next, you need to review what food items are listed in the voucher and make sure that all of the items purchased by the WIC customer are WIC allowed. Remember, no alterations or substitutions of these food items are permitted. Since I work in a large store, the WIC items are in the computer, so the scanner automatically verifies each item. But you know computers. They're great when they work, but they can be wrong too. That's why I always keep the WIC shopping guide handy. That way I can check any items I'm not sure about.
All WIC customers should have their own copy of the shopping guide. It shows which foods can be purchased.
Remember that the WIC foods can sometimes be hard for WIC customers to find in your store, and the WIC foods do change from time to time.
Okay, back to the WIC transaction.
It's important to check the amounts being purchased.
I can always buy less than the listed amount, but I can never buy more than the amount for each food item listed on the standard voucher.
Before we can ring up the total of the sale, deduct any coupons the WIC customer has.
Coupons including buy one get one free are allowed. Coupons reduce the price of the customer's total sale and save the WIC program money.
We assume everyone knows this, but sales tax is never charged on a WIC transaction.
Also, when a standard voucher is transacted, no money changes hands.
Which brings us to totaling up the transaction. The cashier writes the total cost of the WIC allowed foods on the voucher, always in pen, using black ink.
Then, the customer signs the voucher to verify that she received the food and the total was correct. And the cashier verifies that the signature matches one of those on the WIC ID folder. WIC customers must have their WIC ID folder with them, and no other type of ID like a driver's license may be used as a substitute.
Always give the WIC customer a receipt. A receipt is very important in case there's a problem with the food being spoiled or expired.
And you're done. You've successfully completed a WIC transaction with a standard voucher.
Now, remember the voucher for fruits and vegetables? These vouchers allow WIC customers to purchase fresh, frozen, and canned fruits and vegetables, and any combination of these.
Yes, for example, I could buy some fresh apples, frozen green beans, and canned pineapple, all with one fruit and vegetable voucher.
The fruit and vegetable vouchers have a specific dollar amount printed on them. This means that they must be handled a little differently than the standard voucher. If the total amount of the fruits and vegetables purchased by the WIC customer is equal to or less than the dollar amount printed on the voucher, the store cashier should write in that total on the voucher.
But if the total amount is more than the dollar amount printed on the voucher, the customer has two options. She may put something back so that the order amount is equal to or less than what is printed on the voucher, or she may pay the difference between what is printed on the voucher and the total price of her fruit and vegetables. And she can use cash, credit, or EBT.
Remember the key points of WIC transactions. Confirm the dates in the voucher to make sure it can be used. Review the specific amounts and types of food items listed on the voucher. Make sure that only WIC allowed foods are purchased and that the amounts do not exceed what's listed on the standard voucher.
With the voucher for fruits and vegetables, the customer may pay the difference if the fruits and vegetables total more than what is printed on the voucher.
No alterations or substitutions of the foods are permitted. When you're not sure about an item, compare it to the WIC allowed food list. Then enter the total price of the foods purchased on the standard WIC voucher.
In the case of the fruit and vegetable voucher, enter the total price of the food if the amount is less than or equal to the amount printed on the voucher. But if the customer's order exceeds the amount printed and she chooses to pay the difference, you write in the amount printed on the voucher, never more than this amount.
Have the customer sign the WIC voucher and compare the signature on the voucher with a WIC ID card. Finally, give the customer a receipt.
Pretty straightforward and simple.
When everything runs smoothly, which is most of the time. But there are a few additional things that we should talk about.
Those occasional bumps in the process.
Right. To demonstrate, let's take a transaction and play what if.
Meaning?
Meaning, at every point in the transaction, we're going to ask what would happen if.
I think I've got it.
So here's our first what if. What if a customer brings a voucher to the cashier that can be used on any day between May 1st and May 31st?
Including May 1st and May 31st.
But the day they want to use it is April 29th.
Oh, I'm sorry, this voucher doesn't start until May 1st.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I thought this was my April dated voucher.
We get as many as 3 months worth of vouchers at each visit to the clinic. And typically, we get several vouchers per month. So with all of those vouchers, it's easy to get mixed up and try to use a voucher for another month by mistake.
But for our records, it's important to make sure that the right dates are always used. Ready for another what if?
Sure.
Okay, what if there's a problem matching the sizes or amounts of food with what's listed on the voucher?
That's a good one.
Oh, I'm sorry, this voucher says 36 ounces of cereal, and these boxes add up to 40 ounces of cereal.
But I've bought the two together before.
Well, this cereal does come in a smaller size box. You can still get them both today. If you'd like, we can exchange this for a smaller box. Would you like us to have one brought up for you?
Thanks, that'd be terrific.
Okay.
Now, what if a WIC customer brings up the wrong food item?
Oh, I'm sorry. This voucher says 1 gallon of skim or 1% milk, and this is whole milk.
But my daughter only likes to drink whole milk.
I understand, but I can only provide what's listed on the voucher. If you have any questions about the milk, you can ask your WIC clinic.
Okay.
Would you like to have a gallon of 1% or skim milk brought up for you?
Yeah, that'd be terrific.
Okay, great.
The cashier did a nice job of being understanding and helpful while following the correct procedures.
What if a customer is confused about a WIC allowed food item?
I'm sorry, this juice is not WIC allowed.
But I've bought that brand before.
The only flavor in this brand that is WIC allowed is apple juice. The other flavors are juice blends, and WIC fruit juice must be single flavor only, like grape juice or apple juice.
I thought this was grape juice only.
I know, it can be so confusing, but if you look here on the label, you'll see it's actually a blend.
I didn't know that.
There are many other brands of 100% grape juice that are WIC allowed. Would you like us to have them brought up for you?
Yes, thank you.
The cashier did a great job of being patient while helping the customer understand why the juice was not WIC allowed.
What if a customer asks for a rain check?
You're out of Cheerios. Can I get a rain check and come back later?
I'm sorry we're out of Cheerios, but I can issue rain checks for WIC purchases. You might want to try another cereal on the food list, or you could come back later and use the voucher then.
Luckily, this doesn't happen very often because we keep plenty of WIC items in stock. But if it does happen, we don't issue rain checks. The customer must pick an alternate off the list or use the voucher at a later date, or perhaps use the voucher at a different store.
I thought this cashier was great about suggesting some alternatives to the customer.
Yeah, there are plenty of options on most items.
Who knows, you might find a new brand or a variety that you really like. Okay, what if the customer refuses an item?
I noticed that your voucher allows you to buy a jar of peanut butter. Would you like us to bring you up a jar?
No thanks. We have enough at home right now, so I don't need to purchase it.
All right.
WIC customers do have the right to decline any food listed on their vouchers. Here's the next what if.
Oh, I didn't realize I forgot to put this with my WIC items.
Oh, no problem. I'll just ring it up separately and add it to your WIC purchase.
Okay, thank you.
What if you've already written in the total?
In ink, no less.
Just cross it out and write in the correct amount in the box, either above or below it. Now, what if a customer has signed the voucher before you've entered the total?
You know, I did that. It was my first WIC purchase. I signed the voucher ahead of time, thinking I'd save the cashier time.
And what happened?
She was really nice. She just had me sign it on the left side of the voucher.
That's great. That's all you have to do. You must have the customer sign the voucher after the total has been entered.
Hi. Hello, this milk is sour. Can I get a refund?
Oh, I'm sorry, we can't give you a refund on the milk, but we'd be happy to replace it with a fresh carton.
Oh, okay, thanks. That'd be great.
If a food is spoiled or expired, it's okay to get a replacement of the same item.
However, no refunds or exchanges for money are allowed.
Remember, the only time money may change hands on a WIC purchase is if the WIC customer chooses to pay the difference on her voucher for fruits and vegetables.
I've got one.
Hi.
My baby does not like this formula. Can I just exchange it for another brand?
I'm sorry, I'm not able to make any refunds or exchanges on formula, but if you take it back to your WIC clinic, I'm sure they'll be able to help you.
Since formula is specifically prescribed for each infant, it can only be returned or changed at the WIC clinic. Any variance from this policy in the event of a flood or other natural disaster or an infant formula recall would have to be authorized in writing by the state WIC office.
Always remember to treat your WIC customers with the same respect you give to all your customers.
But by the same token, you have the right to be treated with respect. If a WIC shopper is rude to you, you can report it on this form. All right, one last what if. What if you do make a mistake on a WIC purchase?
Occasional mistakes happen, but a pattern of mistakes can disqualify your store from the WIC program.
Selling to WIC participants is a privilege, not a right. So it's important to follow all the rules all the time.
Which is not only good for your store, it's good for your WIC customers as well. When you help your WIC customers obtain the healthy foods listed on their vouchers, you're doing your part to help keep them healthy.
And when you treat your WIC customers well, they will be more likely to come back to your store to do their grocery shopping, even after they stop getting the WIC vouchers.
Speaking of stopping, I think we're done.
Good. Being around all this food all the time has made me hungry.